You're listening to the Pole Position Podcast from Let's Talk Sport.
Lights out, away we go!
This weekend is the final ever Malaysian Grand Prix in Formula One.
Oh no!
Welcome to the Pole Position Podcast, build up to this weekend's Malaysian Grand Prix, as Max Verstappen offers Sebastian Vettel a piece of cake.
I'll bring it to the garage. I'll bring it a piece before the practice.
10 to 3 if you can bring it. 10 to 3. 5 to 3.
Thank you guys so much.
So, to start off our build up to the Malaysia Grand Prix, well, we thought we'd actually have a moment and think and look back at the Malaysia Grand Prix, because this is the last time since it started in 1999 we say goodbye to it in 2017. So I thought I'd start off with Jack, who is my guest today. Jack Price, great to see you. Dan Middleton is on his deathbed and Harry's at work somewhere. Any excuse to avoid us doing the podcast. A real shame. But Jack is with me. And Jack, what is your favourite Malaysia moment? I mean, so many years as well.
So it's been such a great track, and I think it'll be a bit of a shame that it disappears off the calendar. I know we've got a few coming next year as well, but I think the moment for me is probably more recent than some of the others, but it has to be Multi 21. It's got to be, even if it's not for the on-track action. It's for the before they went out onto the podium, just before when they sat down. And you just got Mark Webber just going like, what was that all about, Seb? And then he's just there, he's just standing there all awkwardly because he knows that, you know, he's messed up. So it was probably one of the cringiest yet funniest moments I've ever seen on Grand Prix, and it had nothing to do with the racing. It was just the bit afterwards. But I think that's probably one of the standout moments for me.
I think it's literally the only. I think it's one of the only good bits of 2013, and it's literally it's just makes me laugh because that season was pretty dull. But I look back and it was pretty hilarious. I must admit that my favourite moment of that was when they were in the podium room, and then Adrian Newey was there talking to Vettel, and Mark Webber made a late entrance, and Adrian Newey was in between them like, this was just awkward, isn't it, really? and then what was it? He says Multi 21, and then he just drinks a whole bottle of water, Vettel does, looking like he's going to probably try and go to the toilet before the podium. But no, it was pretty hilarious. But in all fairness, though, I don't know about you, a lot of people were not happy about it if you were a Webber fan, but I thought it made it a great race.
Yeah, well, I think obviously back then I was obviously more a Webber fan than a Vettel fan. I think simply because most people were, because he was constantly winning, and I think people wanted something a bit different. But I can understand why Vettel did it, because obviously he wants to win, and if he's in the faster car, you're going to want to try and overtake, aren't you? As much as the team, obviously, team orders are important in a team, but you can see why he did it, and like you said, it makes it exciting nowadays. You've got people saying no. Was it Max Verstappen last year when they said let Carlos Sainz pass, and he was just like no. So I think that sort of makes it a little bit interesting now when you can actually hear it going on.
Well, let's hear that team radio between Vettel, Webber, and of course the bosses.
Careful, Sebastian. Careful. Sebastian, multi-map 2-1. Multi-map 2-1. And look after your tyres, please. Come on, Sebastian, you need to give him the space. Hold position. This is silly, Seb, come on.
Yeah, that's good feedback.
Okay, Mark, he was told. Sebastian.
I was really scared. All of the penalty was moving, but I had to leave the line. To repeat, I had to get over the line. It didn't leave me any space.
Good job, Sebastian. Good job. Looked like you wanted it bad enough. Still, there'll be some explaining to do.
Jack, do you want to hear my Malaysian memories?
Yes, I do.
You do? Oh, I thought you were going to say no. That would have been awkward. I must admit, I think this is probably a bit biased, but I think my favourite Malaysian memory was 2012 Malaysia, where, of course, Alonso won in the wet. It was a thriller, and a lot of people were surprised Alonso won the race, because at the time, the Ferrari did terribly in testing. And then everyone was surprised that he won the second race of the season. But who came second? A young Sergio Perez for Sauber in his second ever season in F1. A lot of people may know already from this pole position podcast team that I am a Perez favourite. And I'll always say it's his year when it really isn't. I'm sure Liverpool fans understand my fate. But, of course, it was a big shock for Sauber. And then later on that season, Perez got 3 podiums. And Kamui Kobayashi got one in Japan as well, his teammate. Here is the moment when Alonso won the Grand Prix.
This is one of the most beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful. We are so proud of you.
When we do our review of this race, hopefully, if Dan and Harry get out of their deathbeds and out of work, they will share with us their favourite memories. But on Twitter, we did ask on the Let's Talk Sport Twitter page, which is at Let's Talk Sport 12. Make sure you follow us for our future tweets. And we were asking what was your favourite ever F1 Malaysian Grand Prix. And this was really close at the end. It was between the 2001 race when Schumi won in the wet. Schumacher, that is. Raikkonen's first ever win in 2003, which was in a McLaren, and of course 2012 with Alonso versus Perez. And looking at the results, it's 37% for the 2003 Grand Prix, where Raikkonen got his first ever win. And of course, we all know what happened. He became a world champion in 2007, and now he is Vettel's bitch at Ferrari, let's be honest. But he earns a lot of money from it, so you can't complain. But obviously, if you're really interested, Formula One did actually ask as well for the fans his favourite ever Grand Prix from Malaysia. And whichever got the most results they'd be able to show you the full race on YouTube. And everyone went for the 2001 race with Schumacher. So obviously, it's a bit mixed for everyone, as with our people, they wanted Raikkonen. As for Formula One, they wanted Michael Schumacher. So, mixed fortunes. Which race did you go for, Jack, out of them 3? Even though your favourite wasn't on there.
I've got to say first that our audience is obviously more important.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well said.
I think they got the right decision. So I think I probably would have gone for that race. I mean, I think it's good that they've actually put the whole race out, because it's so far back now. You wouldn't think that they'd be able to get it, but the fact that Liberty Media are actually this involved and asking the fans which race they want, and they show the whole race. Can you imagine if we'd asked for Canada in 2011?
Please, 4 hours. That would be amazing. Oh.
YouTube would be like looking at the upload going, what?
YouTube would think, hey, Bernie's actually using the... Oh, no, wait, they've got new people now. Bernie, we do love you, really. Okay, so let's talk about the race. It's this weekend on Sunday. It's an early start for us Brits. Sadly, I believe at 8 a.m. it is on Sunday. Well, for some reason on Saturday, the qualifying is at 10 a.m. I mean, okay, I'll take that for Saturday morning, but Sunday morning, damn you. Damn you, Liberty, maybe. Just when it was good, it was then turning bad. So quickly just mention some quick facts and stats about the Sepang International Circuit. So as mentioned, the first race was in 99, and then it's gone on to do it until 2017 of this year. It was actually first held in 1962, which isn't in F1, but in other racing circuits. Number of times held, 37 times. And of course, the most wins is Sebastian Vettel with 4. So this might help him come the weekend if he's got the right Ferrari instead of going into Verstappen. The most wins for constructors is Ferrari with 7. Most of them probably Schumacher. And then, of course, the circuit length is 5.543 kilometres, which is 3.4 miles. Incredible. And it's 56 laps. The pole position of last year was Lewis Hamilton. He could do with that this time around. And the podium, though, last season, Daniel Ricciardo winning after, of course, Hamilton Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. And Max Verstappen second and Nico Rosberg third. The fastest lap coming from Nico Rosberg. Jack, let's talk about Lewis Hamilton. Last year, it was going all well for him. He was leading the race. This was in his battle to win a 4th World Championship and a 3rd World Championship in a row, while at Mercedes, still is, of course. But then all of a sudden, that engine packed up. Let's hear it from his team radio.
And there into turn 1.
It's Lewis Hamilton. There's a fire at the back of that Mercedes car. His engine has blown, and his chances of winning the Malaysia Grand Prix with it.
Oh no,
Just when it all started to go right for Lewis Hamilton.
Jack, we've always looked back at that moment where the car went on fire. In my eyes, I think it was a bet button from Toto Wolff or someone at Mercedes, a Nico Rosberg fan, to go, plan B, plan B, plan B. And Rosberg got 3rd place, and we've all said this, that is the moment where, in my eyes, Lewis Hamilton lost the World Championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing is that is the Mercedes is such a reliable car. I think we can all agree that it has probably the most reliability of any of the cars on the grid. So the fact that when Lewis Hamilton probably needed it most, it died on him. It probably, for Lewis Hamilton fans, I know me and you probably aren't the biggest Lewis
I'm
Hamilton
putting out there.
But I think obviously for Brits everywhere else and obviously Lewis Hamilton fans, that was bitterly disappointing, and obviously for Lewis himself, and obviously helping Nico Rosberg get them points he needed. But I think otherwise, he is quite good around Malaysia. He was still doing well in the race last year. So, if obviously the car, because the car's been quite reliable this year, if he can keep that going, then he should be all right around the circuit. And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but he is my number 1 to win the race.
Oh, there you go. You've heard it already from Jack Price. We'll talk about predictions in a bit, but yeah, it's a circuit he's mastered before, and he's, as we mentioned, if it wasn't for that engine pack up, then he would have won the race, no doubt. And I mean, it's all about qualifying, surely, this weekend, Jack, because at the same time, it's a circuit where you can overtake. It's one of Herman Tilke's finest circuits, really, because now he just seems to think only one car can go through a road at once, and you think, what? No, that's not racing. That's called a Sunday drive. Hey, what's that?
Good traffic.
I mean, Azerbaijan, I don't get that one. That one's rubbish. I can just get off. But I'm losing it here. But surely it's just one of those where as long as you get pole, but it just shows really that you still got to win the race.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's some tracks on the calendar that you just think, what is the point? Because the same people that qualified on the grid finish the race at the same thing. But for Malaysia, not only has it got good corners as well, it's got 2 main straights that the DRS can be used at, which I think is important because there's no point using DRS if it's not going to be useful. So I think that this track does highlight how good DRS can be on a car. So I think that that's important for that. But obviously looking at the weather as well, I'm not sure what the weather's going to be this weekend, whether it's going to be wet qualifying or a wet race, and whether that
Have you not seen
could help it.
I've noticed a lot of the F1 reporters have been sharing on Instagram, to be specific, their stories, including Lee McKenzie of Channel 4, looking at the weather before they were travelling to Malaysia, and it's meant to be cloudy and rain and storms all weekend. So what a treat again. We're going to have another wet race. That means Verstappen and Vettel are going out.
Alonso's going to make a great start.
Yeah. I still look back at that Singapore race, and when they've got this thing on F1, Liberty again actually realising what YouTube can do for money, they actually put every onboard cam at the start, and they have Alonso's like, yeah, oh, no, why? It just gets bumped right into Verstappen. I love it.
My first good start of the year, and look what happens.
Yeah. There's a catch, isn't there? You'll get 4th, and then there's a catch.
That's why Honda probably paid the Ferraris to knock into him, because obviously they just split from McLaren. So it's like, we don't want him winning now, so we might as well just get him out.
I can imagine the Ferrari bosses thinking, but he's a former driver of ours. Do it. This will pay for your engines next year, I'm sure of it. We get them for free, just do it.
Speaking of engines as well, I mean, just quickly, Aston Martin obviously definitely coming into the sport for Red Bull next year.
Yeah, fantastic. Title sponsors.
Yeah.
It's often, obviously, we keep sending letters to McLaren and go, come on, get a title sponsor, even if it's Haribo, you get free sweets. Just the first one that came to mind. But hopefully we'll see that from McLaren. But no, it's great because Aston Martin, as we mentioned in the other podcast, which was our review of the Singapore Grand Prix, go and listen to that, where we, of course, we mentioned that in 2021, the Aston Martin boss said that they are looking to have a team when the new regulations come out. Yeah, which is really good news as well. We want to see these big engine brands from the big global car makers. We had Mercedes when they came in and took over from Braun, and obviously we need more of these. Obviously, there's talk of Porsche at some point maybe as well. We want these big brands in there. As much as it's great to have the little team starting out, we also want to see the competitiveness of the big car brands. So to see Aston Martin coming a title sponsor is only good things for F1. Yeah, we definitely need more teams. I mean, I remember in 2012, the last time we had 24 cars, and it definitely made the starts a lot more exciting. Even if there was nothing going to happen in terms of crashes, we had that. We used to have that on first cars every race, but more cars, the better for the future of Formula One. Okay, there was an awkward, actually it was quite a funny press conference on a Thursday. F1, you'd think it was by accident. Of course it was. It was by accident. It's, of course, they got Vettel, Verstappen and Raikkonen in the press conference, just them three, to talk about the race when apparently they crashed into each other in Singapore. I'll go and have a look. But they all, this was their thoughts on the incident and their thoughts ahead of the race this Sunday.
I think it's part of racing. It's also not the first time, I'm in a situation like this. Probably will not be the last time, and therefore not much point to try and look at them again and again. Your time and your energy is more well spent looking forward.
Yeah, it happened, you can't change it anymore. I think it was just a very unfortunate moment. But yeah, what can you do about it? We just come here again and we'll try again.
No, not really anything. We obviously moved on since Sunday, and it's a new weekend and a try.
Still a lot of races left. I think we have a strong car, so we'll see. I have a lot of races left, but yeah, I'm not too fussed about the amount of points. Obviously, it's never good to be behind. We'd like to be in front, but we're not, so we've got to take it from there.
So, as always, Vettel being professional, Verstappen still learning the ways of the media at his very young age in F1. But as always as well, Raikkonen, if you could get a word out of him instead of "bwah," you're doing okay in the media. Bwah. Sorry, it's just, he's always like that. Good old Raikkonen. Even if he's in trouble with someone, he can somehow just get out of it because he has no words to say, even though he can't speak English.
10 seconds, that's its answer.
Yes,
the answer.
Exactly. Oh, he's a great man. What can you do without the Iceman? He's a legend. Of course, in that press conference, they hoped for a bit of awkwardness, but it was actually quite professional from all of them. But surely they've just got to put it behind them, as they said, and just get on with the next race.
I don't think they'll be thinking about that now.
No.
That's gone past them now. There's no interest in looking back on that. It's only the journalists that want the juicy news stories out of it. But the racing drivers, once they left that circuit, it's the next race, isn't it? So they're all going to be focused on this race, totally different. But I do think that if Verstappen starts anywhere near Sebastian Vettel, there's still going to be a little twitch in Vettel's eyes. He's still going to be a little bit worried about Max Verstappen.
When you say twitch, do you mean Verstappen sees him on the left and just rams into him? I love the tweet I saw the other day. I can't remember who it was from, but it was the World Championship now is down to Hamilton and Verstappen. I was like, you don't even need to know anymore. I know exactly what they mean. just like it was last year in the final race when Verstappen was right behind Rosberg, right on his tail, and Hamilton was hoping he'd overtake him and ruin it for him, but no. I remember Rosberg saying in the press conference afterwards, "Man, I don't want to go through that again."
That's probably why he retired.
Yeah, I think that was probably the moment when he thought, I'm not doing this anymore. Yes, I get paid millions to drive a racing car, but screw it. Of course, we have a new driver this weekend. F1 invited him for a press conference. He said yes, even though he had no choice because of the contract. But Pierre GASLY, who is a French driver, he has joined Toro Rosso, which means Daniel Kvyat is out. And this is what he had to say, and of course he was a very excited young man ahead of his first ever race in F1.
Yeah, it feels amazing, honestly. Starting my first Formula 1 race this weekend is just a dream coming true for me. I worked really hard these past few years to make it happen, and it's true I had to be patient, but yeah, it's worth it. I'm just so excited. Of course, I'm here to learn as quickly as possible and to perform with the team. But at the moment, I think I need to take each session at a time, learn as quickly as possible next to Carlos, and then we will see where we are. Of course, I want to do well, but then also need to be objective. Coming with six races to go. For me, there will be many things to learn, and I'm just gonna try to do my best.
So, Jack, it's goodbye to Daniel Kvyat. Maybe for now, we don't know. It probably is. But this is a guy over a year ago who got the promotion to Red Bull, the sister team of Toro Rosso. And then Verstappen, he came out of nowhere after 2-3 races, I can't remember. Verstappen took his place. And really, Kvyat has been given the short straw. How do you look at this treatment? Because it's a bit unfair, but I guess this is a good example of how difficult and harsh F1 can be.
Yeah, I think this shows how much of a business F1 is. You look at it, I think was it after his home Grand Prix last year in Russia
that
they then decided to swap him over, which I thought was a bit harsh in itself, that it was his home race and they're like, no, we'll get you out now. But he had a couple of really bad starts. I can't remember him crashing into Vettel 2 races in a row, was it?
Yeah.
So Vettel wasn't really happy with that. I don't think he had an impact, even though he used to obviously drive for Red Bull. Whether they had a bit of a discussion with Vettel about it, I don't know. But yeah, I think it was always on the cards. And then once they did the swap last year for Spain, I think that Daniel Kvyat always had a tough. It was always a tough task to sort of win them back over again, and he always had to be on his A game to do that. And I don't really think there's been a race since then that you've gone, wow, that's a really great drive from Kvyat. And I think that if he doesn't come back into F1, the fact that his last race in Singapore, he crashed into the wall, does that say it all? I don't know.
I think you've probably said it spot on there, Jack. I mean, in all fairness, Kvyat as a driver, I forgot about for quite a few months or so now, and in the shadows, and even at a team like Toro Rosso as well, that they do get talked about. There's a reason why they're there in F1. They are like the academy for Red Bull for the future drivers if they make it. And yes, it's definitely been upsetting times for Kvyat, but I guess at the end of the day, Jack. I nearly put a J in for D for J. I mean, really. At the end of the day, surely Kvyat could just look back and think, look, I gave it a go, it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, F1's not the only motorsport out there for him.
No, I mean, you look at Paul di Resta, he went to DTM, didn't he?
Yeah.
There is other drives out there. I think that the issue that Toro Rosso probably had is that they need to get some young blood in there now. Kvyat had his opportunity at Red Bull, it didn't work out, and he went back down. Carlos Sainz is going to Renault, so they need to bring some youngsters out of that academy to get into that Toro Rosso, because otherwise it's looking a bit bare, isn't it? So they need to get these young drivers that they say they have into that seat now, and I think Daniel Kvyat has probably sort of took the bullet for that.
Okay, I was going to get the practice results up, but my iPad looks like it's not connected to the internet. I'll try and get them somewhere, but of course the practice Two of them on the Friday, and then Saturday morning we have it again for practice 3. And then, of course, we have the qualifying as well. Let's just quickly look at the practice results, if I could get them up. I'm commentating on me going on the internet browser. I never thought this would be. But Grosjean crashed. That's the headline. And Lewis Hamilton was off pace in the Malaysia practice. Now, if I just quickly go get the results up for the second practice, I don't think first practice matters now because that's less current. Vettel getting first with 1.31.261. That was the fastest lap. Kimi Raikkonen in second, his teammate. Daniel Ricciardo third and Verstappen fourth. So Red Bull and Ferrari dominating the top 4 there. And as me and Jack were mentioning before we started the podcast, Alonso is 5th, which makes me want to jump out my seat in shock. But that's not the reality. You see, this is what I mean, kids. If you're starting to get into F1, practice is not a reality. It's a dream.
Yeah, well, they say that every time when they go, oh my God, Mercedes are off pace. They turn up for qualifying and they're on pole. It makes no difference.
It's like they just have to turn up or exist for practice.
Yeah.
It's like, do they really need to turn up?
Yeah.
What's
just
that?
Sit in the garage. Just sit in the garage. There's no point.
Hamilton was 6th at the end with Bottas 7th, as we mentioned. Yeah. If you really want to know the slowest, which is like Sauber with Pascal Wehrlein and Marcus Ericsson. Which
actually interesting if you look at it. What happened in practice 2. Pierre Gasly actually finished higher than Sainz.
Oh dear.
Yes.
I bet Carlos Sainz is on the phone now to Daniel Kvyat saying, please come back. I miss you, man. Why? Is it because
I need you. You're my number 2.
Oh, well, of course, he's got that security. I nearly dropped my water. He's nearly got the security. He's got that security now of next season with Renault. So he's probably telling Gasly, be a kid, go out there, crash the car if you need to. It'll be just a simple mistake. Early days. Anyway, before we go on about a load of rubbish, let's move on to our race predictions. Now, even though Dan and Harry aren't here, they've been able to text me through their race predictions. Jack, let's start off with yours. Announce your race predictions ahead of this Sunday.
Well, I have gone for, even though I've just seen the practice results, I have gone for Hamilton to win the race. I think he needs this one, especially with what happened last year. Although he won in Singapore, I think he needs this one in Malaysia. I've gone for Vettel second. That obviously depends where Verstappen starts and whether they have a little bit of a discussion at the start. And then I've gone for Bottas in third place. Again, I think he needs a strong race because he was a bit nowhere in Singapore. So I think he needs one.
Yeah, he certainly was. He I think for him, he definitely had a bit of a quiet race in Singapore, but certainly helped the team get more points after the double DNF from Ferrari. Let's look at the rest of the gang. Hello, Harry and Dan, if you're listening somewhere. Harry Wright, of course, we call him as our Mr. F1, as he pretty much knows. He knows everything of F1 stats, you name it. He even told us that there's been one Malaysian driver in F1. I can't even remember the name, but he knows it, and I hadn't had a clue. So it's always good to have Harry on our side. He has gone for Hamilton as well for the race win.
Not alone.
Yeah. Ricciardo second, which would be a great result at this moment in time, and Vettel third, which of course will dent the chances for Vettel. The point gap will just get bigger between the British driver and the German driver. Dan Middleton, he sent us ours in. He was able to give out 2 minutes while dying in his bed. So thank you for that, Middleton. Rest in peace if anything happens. Hamilton, he's gone for to win the race as well. So that's 3 out of 3 so far for Hamilton. Bottas second, a good 1-2 there for Mercedes, and Vettel third. So Vettel yet again just making the podium out of our list. And here's mine. Drum roll. I have gone for Vettel to win.
Whoa!
I'll be honest. There's no confidence in this. I love it how we've all gone against Vettel when he's a very good driver, but it's more like if you've got the car, you should. I mean, he may crash again. He's got this reputation now after one race. I've gone for Vettel because I want to see a tight end to the season. Anything to get Vettel back in contention this weekend. That'll be great. But I don't really help myself here, do I, when I say Hamilton's going to finish second? So it doesn't really decrease the gap that much, but it's better than nothing. And I've gone for Raikkonen third. So it could be a good weekend for Ferrari after all, but we'll find out on Sunday.
I think what you're expecting is Mercedes to press the magic button on Hamilton's engine again.
Rosberg's in the background somewhere. Oh, why didn't you get rid of the button from last year? We left it here. We left it in Sepang for 12 months. Of course, if you want to know what our predictions table looks like after the Singapore Grand Prix, Dan got 16 points. Harry got 18 points. He's top at the moment. Jack got 0. Just thought I'd remind you, 0. As the hand is on his face again. I only got 8, but I got more than you.
Oh, so you've only got 8?
I bet you're happy just to get 1 at some point. Probably feel like Pastor Maldonado when he won the Spanish Grand Prix thing. I actually won something.
I'm Julian Palmer. I'm getting that point.
Will he stay next year? I hope not. Apologies. Of course, that comes to the end of our build-up to the Malaysian Grand Prix. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much to Jack as well. Thank you very much to Dan and Harry for their 10-second contribution. And of course, make sure you follow the Pole Position podcast on SoundCloud, but you can also now listen to our podcast on YouTube by following Let's Talk Sport. Search for that on YouTube, subscribe for more videos, and we've been providing more F1 videos ever since. So make sure you do that and keep us going, keep us strong, people. Thank you very much. And make sure you follow us on Twitter as well, which is at Let's Talk Sport 12 for our latest online polls ahead of our podcast. We'll be back at the end of the weekend for our review of the race. Jack, thank you for helping.
No problem, thank you.
And we'll certainly enjoy the race, hopefully. And fingers crossed for a wet race.